This podcast episode is brought to you by The Cry Lounge. The Cry Lounge is an independent publishing company founded by this podcast's host, Bonnie Orbison. The Cry Lounge transfers your daydreams onto paper. With 2 book releases the past 2 years, they are preparing to extend their service to other authors and other creatives. To get more details and support this show, there's a link in the description you can check out. The Cry Lounge looks forward to meeting you. This was the theme song by Sollis. Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Bonnie's Legends with me, the host, Bonnie Orbison. As every Monday, I'm introducing you to one of my legends. That can be everybody from big celebrity to an independent artist, mostly, as I am one, to everyday heroes, everybody, literally. Everybody you look up to and admire. And today I have the honor to introduce you to my legend for over a year now, Raissa. Raissa is a talented, legendary songwriter, singer, musician, artist. Exactly 1 year ago, I texted her for the first time and asked her for my podcast, and the time was right 1 year afterwards. So here I am. It was a lot of fun. We talked about her latest EP, HEROGIRL. What is a hero girl to her? We talked precisely about the songs and what they mean for her. We talked about her time as an independent artist. We talked about her time now as a signed artist at Sollis Records. Raissa is just a really kind human being. It was really fun sitting down with her. It was a wonderful experience sitting down with her. We assume talking with her about her career, about her passion, literally. So yeah, I hope you have fun as much as we had. And Raissa's new single, Free, is out now. It came out last Friday. And after you listen to this episode, you have to make sure to subscribe to my podcast. And then you go to her profile, wherever you are, Spotify, Apple Music, wherever you are, go to her profile and listen to Free. It's a masterpiece. And as always, I tell you that I am also an independent artist and an independent author. And my book, Follow Me, is out since April this year. And the link is in the description. Check it out. I would love if you become a legend of reading my book. So make sure to check that out as well. Yeah. And have fun. And we see us next week for another episode, for another legend of Bonnie's Legends. See you. Bye. Ladies and gentlemen, Raissa.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. I realized this morning that it took me 1 year to get you into my podcast.
I know. I'm sorry. It's been there's so many things I need to get done that I just haven't gotten around to doing.
That's fine. I completely understand. But I was like, is it a half year ago? No. It was June last year. I was like, oh.
I know. I think last year didn't count, Just pretend. Yeah. 2020 didn't count. It didn't exist.
Yeah, that's true.
Right?
Okay. So, in season 1 and season 2, I asked my legends I didn't ask them, but like I in season 1 and season 2, I described themselves to the listener, but I kind of felt the energy that the legend itself would describe themselves differently. So like, how would you describe yourself?
How would I describe myself? I would describe myself as honest. I'd like to think that I'm brave. So brave, creative, and a performer.
Aww.
Yeah.
Why do you oh goodness, why do you doubt about brave? Like you're brave.
Well, you always have times where you don't feel as brave, and also I guess it's a matter of perspective what brave is or isn't. But I try my best to be brave every day. I try not to do things out of fear. I try and do them out of love, and I think that to do that you have to be brave sometimes. So I hope I'm brave. I'd like to think that.
You are.
You too. Thank you.
Yeah, so you released Hero Girl 2 months ago, I think. Two?
Yep.
2. Yeah.
I think you're right. Yeah. April.
Yeah, it was end of March.
Was it? Yeah. End of March.
So how did the release go?
It went well. If I'm being completely honest, I think I made the EP like over a year ago, and it was meant to come out a year ago. It was meant to come out like March of 2020. But obviously COVID and all this stuff, I was like stuck in London and I couldn't get my visa to move, and it was like really messy, and I think I didn't get to do things the way that I initially planned to, and I think that was a little bit a little bit hard for me. So I think I've come to terms with it now.
Mm-hmm.
But I wasn't fully happy with the EP and its release, in the sense that by the time the music came out, I felt like I'd moved on as a musician. I'd just gotten better. My songs were different now. Well, not completely different, but I'd grown so much as a musician. I'd grown so much as a artist, and I felt like I couldn't express that, and I was still stuck in what I'd done a year ago, which I was excited about a year ago, and then things didn't get released in the way that I wanted to, in the time frame that I wanted to, because of the election and all these different variables and stuff that made it really difficult to really plan. And I'm a big planner, but I still think that it was an important chapter in my life, and I'm happy I put it out. And I think that the fans that I do have really loved it and enjoyed it and still do, and I'm glad that I was able to give them something to enjoy. But I'm really excited because I'm about to release new music like really, really, really soon, like in the next 4 weeks soon. I'm shooting
anything,
but and I'm shooting a bunch of stuff, and like this music feels way more like it's recent. Like I've made it in the last 3 months. The visuals also like are more consistent, because now that people are vaccinated and I'm in LA and stuff, it's a lot easier to do shoots, have the right COVID protocols, have everyone in one place, etc. It's made it a lot easier. So I'm really excited for this new chapter. Yeah.
I feel this excitement via this screen.
I'm honestly super excited. I think it's the best stuff I've made so far, and I'm hoping to only get better.
Yeah, and that's also maybe because, like, as you said, it's your music right now, like about yourself right now. I feel that. I also felt that when I released my first book, my debut novel, Follow Me. Like I wrote the book when I was 13 and I released it when I was 15, 16. And I completely now I'm getting questions about the book, and I'm like, oh my goodness, this book is so old for me. Well, like for the people it's completely new. And if the book I'm writing right now, I'm like, I won't postpone it so far.
Yeah, you kind of want to get it out, because then you're excited about it. So I feel like I had a hard time promoting Hero Girl and like pushing it and being excited about it. It's not that I didn't believe in it anymore. I still think it's a part of me and it's a part of my journey. And the idea of being a hero girl and the concept of hero girl is still intact. Like I'm still maintaining that because it's bigger than just one EP. Like I know it was the title of the EP, but it's more than just that. But I'm saying purely like musically, it just felt stale, and I felt like I didn't believe in the version of me that made that, because I was no longer that version. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited, and there's so much music coming and so many visuals like pretty consistently. And I'm also just hoping that with these releases that I'll be able to have enough of a fan base so that it makes sense to make an album, and that it makes sense to start touring, etc. Because it's been really hard with COVID. Like I've been really limited to like TikTok and Instagram.
Yeah.
As much as I love social media, the thing that I love about my favorite thing about social media is the fact that I can talk with people. That's my favorite part. The DMs and the comments. That's what I love the most. I think that during COVID there was kind of like this pressure to like show kind of like yourself being relatable on like, so, and like, oh, this is me in my like pajamas or whatever doing normal stuff, which I don't think there's anything wrong with that. And I'm not like, I don't care if someone sees me with no makeup and zit cream on. Like I don't feel the need to like pretend to be perfect all the time, because I don't. But that's not why I make music or want to be an artist. I do it because I want the artists and the people that I've looked up to, and the people that have made me want to do this are people that have made me dream.
Yeah.
People haven't given me reality. They've given me something to aspire to, something to hope for. And I felt very frustrated in the last year, feeling like the only option I had to get fans, which as much as like it's silly, like that is kind of the name of the game, and being signed, like that's what your label wants. I didn't want to have to pretend to be relatable, because I feel like that's a lie, in order to like go viral on TikTok and like get people to I'm like, but then they don't care about what I'm making. They care about that one funny video I made. Like that, they're not there for the art, and I want people to be there for the art.
Yeah.
So I'm really hoping that as things start to open up and I have more options, and even just more, like even just if I do want to upload TikToks, it has more to do with the work that I'm doing. I'm hoping that through that I'm able to get people on board and have people be a part of this family I'm trying to build, as opposed to fake my way to being relatable, like fake relatable. Because I'm like, that's not relatable if that's not how I naturally am. Why would I do that? That's not being honest, you know? So it's like a weird, sorry, I've been thinking about this a lot.
That's fine.
And
that's what I'm doing with my podcast. I'm giving you the voice to talk about whatever you want.
Thank you so much. So yeah, that's something I've thought about a lot, and I'm just excited to open this new page and navigate it how I want to navigate it, not navigate it how I think I'm supposed to navigate it because of the limited, nature of like being in a pandemic and being in lockdown and not being able to really do anything or interact with people.
Yeah. Same happened with me when I released the book. Because like now suddenly everybody kind of gets that I wrote a book in my school. But like if I'm thinking about a time where no COVID would have existed during the time I released this book, I think probably my school would have done a reading, or like you know what I mean.
Yeah, there would have been more, and your work would feel alive, because there would be like interactions with people about the work that aren't just a comment or like a clip. It would be like talking to people, or going to do this, or like going to a bookstore, and like I don't know, just and even for you as a writer, or like as an artist or whatever, it's good for your spirit to feel like you're participating and engaging with your work outside of just having made your work.
Yes.
Like it's good for your brain, like it's just good for your state of mind, it's good for your confidence, it's good, and like the more confident you feel, the more people I think are going to respond to what you're doing. So yeah, man, 2020 is so bad. Yeah But it is the way it is, and like I think everything happens for a reason. I'm really excited about what I'm doing now, so you just got to keep it moving, Yes,
exactly. Okay, so you said, oh yeah, so there are no more self-taped music videos.
No, not for now. Maybe in the future, but not for now, no. But I'm really excited. I'm working with, because I had way too much on my plate, but I'm working with this creative director. Her name is Bridget Crisp, and I really love her. And we're working together to make sure that the costume, the hair and makeup, like, and all the videos are consistent. And like, in terms of like, if I do live, what that looks like, and kind of, because I was doing that before, but by myself. And then it was just really difficult to keep up and do that and be in the studio. And, it was too much. So I think having her on board is going to make my vision translate a lot better than before. So I'm really excited. So yeah, I don't think there'll be any self-taught videos, but there will be a lot of behind the scenes self-shot content. So a lot of like little vlog style videos in the coming weeks, which I'm really excited about.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so HEROGIRL was done 1 year ago already. Like the songs haven't changed or something.
No, the songs were made fully, with the exception of Shades On. All the songs were finished by January of 2020. They were finished. And they were meant to come out March of 2020.
All right.
And they came out March of 2021. So yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. It
That's
was a lot.
Is.
Yeah, that's how life is, right? Yeah.
All right. So I want to tell you, I think I already sent you a voice message or something about it, but like the first time I listened to HEROGIRL, I think I was mentally on a bad state. I have no idea. I was just I was driving with the bus home, and I remember it rained and I was completely wet and all that stuff. So I was sitting in this bus and I was listening to HEROGIRL, and the song that made me cry was Constellations. I was just like, my tears, I bursted into tears in the bus.
That's probably my favorite song right now off of that EP. Yeah, I love Constellations. Constellations actually is a freestyle. It was a freestyle. So my friend, one of our best friends, Diako, who I made a lot of the music off of the EP with, and a lot of the new music that's coming out, he was just playing on the piano, and he just kept playing that, and the mic was on, and I was like, okay, I was like, press record, and I just started singing the top line, that whole top line. I just sang the whole thing, and I was like, I was actually crying by the end of it. I was feeling just a bit like, insecure and feeling a bit small.
Yeah.
A bit like, oh, I wonder if like things are going to happen for me. Like just feeling a bit bad about myself. Yeah. But at the end of the song, I was trying to remind myself that like there's hope in everything and there's beauty in everything, and you can't just give up, because you can't give up. And then I added more vocals on top of everything, but actually that song was completely like just me speaking about what I was feeling. I didn't write it. I wrote it. I had to listen back and write it down afterwards.
Yeah, but that's the feeling what the song gives the listener. Like I felt like that. I was like, all right, she just sings my feelings right now, and then I burst into tears, and in the end it gets hopeful, and I'm like, all right, I don't give up.
Yeah. Oh, thank you so much. I'm really glad that song resonates with people, because it's definitely the most emotionally vulnerable song on the EP. And the reason I put it on the end of the EP is because it's meant to leave it open. Do you know what I mean? Like this idea of like, oh, the door's still open and there's something else that has to come afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, I love that song. I'm excited to perform it live.
Yeah.
Cry on stage.
Yes. But like, yeah, I think that's also like, that's why the title is mentioned, because a HEROGIRL, as you before said, it's like, it's someone you look up to, but then it's also somebody who has feelings like everybody else. Like, a HEROGIRL is still like a human being, and it still thinks like, oh my gosh, I want to give up, but like, no, I don't give up.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. Being a HEROGIRL isn't about being perfect or perfect confidence all the time.
Yeah.
It's about seeing yourself through and seeing things through. That's what it's about. And like doing that comes with obstacles, and it comes with, hardship and difficulty and doubt and stuff like that. And that's just, it's part of life. it's part of the merry-go-round of life.
Yeah. Yes. So, what inspired you to write Constellations? Like, no, I forget that question.
I kind of answered it a little bit. Right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I was like, no, it's repeating. Yeah, so Go First Baby was obviously like such a huge hit for me personally. It was just like, I remember I discovered you through the Mark Ronson cover. I want oh goodness, I want to see the bright lights.
Yeah.
And then I was like, oh, she already put music out. And then I was obsessed with Bullying Boys. And I remember one night in summer, there was a house party going on in COVID times. I have completely no idea why. But there was a house party going on and I couldn't sleep because they were so loud. And I just listened to Bullying Boys the entire night.
Oh, thank you.
I don't even know. I was just like, I need to distract myself because they had really bad music taste. And I was just like, you know what? I put music on.
Drown it out.
Like putting Raissa on. Why not?
I love Bullying Boys to this day. I really love that song. It's my
What's it about?
It's about, honestly, it's about, like, the title's kind of like sarcastic.
Yeah.
A little bit, in the sense that I wrote that song, I was coming out of like a really, I think the most difficult time in my life I've had so far. I'm hoping it'll be that, but and I was just surrounded unfortunately by a couple men that were very one of them specifically was very abusive, emotionally, mentally, harassing me a lot, and it was really hard. And whenever I even tried to stand up for myself, and like I was in LA with no visa, no money, like I was in no position. Like the power difference was just so massive. Yeah. And this person and his friends, every time I tried to stand up to myself, it kind of tried to gaslight me into thinking that it was my own fault that I'd either invited that negative attention. It was just like classic.
Yeah.
Like it's your own fault.
I experienced the same ones.
You're difficult, or you're being overly sensitive, or you're exaggerating your reaction to this. This is not that bad. When actually, like now, looking back, I'm like, well, that's actually 1,000 times more serious than I even realized at the time. Because you also, like, to protect yourself a little bit, you try and justify.
Yeah.
You don't even, in that moment when those things are happening to you, when abuse is happening to people, I think, obviously I can't speak for everyone, but I have a feeling that while it's happening, you try and like minimize in your head just so it doesn't impact you as horribly as it like.
Yeah.
Like I don't want to be like, oh, it's not that bad, like almost not to protect them, but almost to like protect yourself from the reality of like how horrible the situation you're in is. And I kind of wrote that song when I decided to let go of that and put it and like accept the fact that I had give myself permission to be like, oh no, you've been like hurt, and like what happened was not okay. And then kind of like sarcastically being like, yeah, I would be bullying boys if I could be.
Yeah.
But I can't, because it was never about me having any power. I never even had the power to even have that as an option.
Yeah. Or you didn't have the strength to do it.
Yeah. And I didn't have the strength, but it wasn't even an option.
Yeah.
Okay, maybe if you have the option and you choose not to, but I didn't even have the option because I was not the person in control. I was not the person with the power. I was not the person that was able to inflict any pain.
Yeah.
Because I physically couldn't because of the power imbalance. So yeah, I'd be bullying boys if I could be. But I'm just sitting here and like talking to God, like praying, like, and I'm not a religious person. at all. Like I grew up, so my mom's Christian and my dad's Muslim, so I grew up in a dual religious household, and my parents are very open-minded people. Like they think like I'm my parents aren't religious, but they're spiritual people, and they believe that whether or not you choose to have a relationship with a higher power or God, that's like a personal thing. So my parents aren't like my parents are very progressive, like woke.
You don't have to tell me that.
They're in their
tell me that.
late 40s, early 50s. So I don't know how woke, but they are woke in the sense that they're, pro women's rights, like pro like gay rights, like stuff like that. And there's always been like anything's open for conversation in my parents' home. Like there aren't topics that you don't speak about, and like stuff like that. So back to my original point, I'm not religious, but I think there have been times in my life where I felt so low that I kind of felt like I wanted, like I had to believe that there was something out there to pray to speak to. Like, I don't know if it's God or the universe or whatever, but that was a time in my life where I did need to, for my own sanity, imagine that there's something bigger than just this situation right now. So that song is very, it's sad and it's vulnerable, but I think it's also triumphant. And I love that song. And it was the first song that I wrote after like leaving that situation, like physically leaving it. Then I had like a lot of other stuff that I had to resolve, but just me removing myself from that situation and not speaking to those people or being around those people anymore. It was and I hadn't written anything in like 4 months, which is I think the longest I've ever gone without making any music, and that was the first song I wrote. So it was, I love that song. And then I got to finish it with my best friend Yakko, who he didn't know what I was going through. And when I finally told him, he was like, I literally, if you had told me, I would have come to get you, but like when it's happening, you sometimes don't feel like you can tell anyone, even the people that you can, so yeah, I love that song. I'm really proud of that song, because anytime I hear it, I'm like, oh, like it feels like a memento of a time where I did have hope and I was my own hero and I overcame something, So it's a big, as much as that song, like, no, it's not a big song or anything, but it's a big milestone for me personally, as a person and as an artist.
Yeah, but what you said about oh, sorry.
No, it's fine. We're still defrosting the social parts of our brain. I have to go. I stutter all the time when I speak to people. I'm like, I'm like, what? I'm sorry, I haven't had a full conversation with a human being in a long time.
Yes. What you said about abusement, I felt the same. I was getting bullied 2 years in middle school, and I haven't realized that in these 2 years, like not at all. I was like, and then at the last day of school in that school, my hands were shaking. I kind of realized how in a bad state I was. I was like, what is going on with me? Like that was the first moment I even questioned the entire situation. So, and afterwards people came like, why did, like, I remember my best friend from childhood, she texted me like, why didn't you tell me anything? And I was like, I didn't know it by myself. So like, you always get this realization afterwards.
And I was also bullied when I was still in school, not in high school. I was lucky I changed schools. So when I was
me too
14, 15, I changed schools to high school, and then I had a really nice high school experience. But ages like 10 to like 15, horrible bullying. And I think sometimes what happens when you're being bullied or mistreated or whatever, I think not only is it you don't realize it, but also it can be scary because you're like, wait, what if once I say it, I admit that that's being done to me, maybe I realize, oh, it's actually because there's something wrong with me that people treat me that way, which obviously is not true. But I think that is part of the fear of like, I'm scared to talk about it because what if I talk about it and what I figure out is my worst fear, which is that there's something intrinsically wrong with me, but that's not true. So
Okay, where were we? We talked about bullying boys.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously you were kind of like a small artist for me around the time I discovered you, and then you kind of
Oh,
like
still am. There's a lot of road to cover, honey. With getting started.
but like I remember the Go Fast Baby, I was like, wow, she will rock the world, she will rule the world. And then I remember when Shades On came out and the song came out, I was just like listening to it, and then next morning I kind of saw often like you shared on how many playlists it was, and I was like, wow, like that song blew up. Like how did you feel in that moment?
I felt really excited. I love that song. And it was a fun song, you know what I mean? Because I don't always make just fun music because I'm like, I have a lot of feelings. But Shades On was just fun, and I made it the day before everything went into lockdown.
Oh.
Literally the day before, with Diaco in his, at the time he was still living with his parents in his childhood bedroom. Yeah, it felt good. It's one of my most highly streamed songs, even though it's one of the last ones to come out.
Yeah. That
Yeah,
was like that was a moment where I was like, oh right, now she did this one step.
yeah,
Yeah. Um yeah. So you were once an independent artist.
yes.
Yes. And so like my podcast gets considered as a podcast where I interview independent artists, what is mostly right, but also not always, you know what I mean? But like I know that I have a lot of listeners who like want to know about how it is to be an independent artist. And so yeah, how did you like obviously you're not anymore an independent artist, you're like now a signed artist. How do you like how do you remember being an independent artist, and what is the difference between now and then?
What is it? It's hard to tell because I got signed in the middle of COVID. So I
Mm-hmm.
feel like my initial experience with a label isn't necessary. Like I feel like would have been very different if there wasn't COVID. Not in a negative or positive way, just different.
Yeah.
Um, I think the biggest difference is I do feel like I have. It comes with pros and cons. I think there's a lot of people involved, like a lot of people. My label's Mark's label is really small. It's upstream through Columbia, so we get all the resources that some a massive label like Columbia gives, but it's a small group of people, which is nice. But even though it's a small group, it's not just me anymore. So there's everyone wants you to succeed, but obviously everyone sometimes has like slightly differing opinions and stuff. So I think navigating that, learning to like be like, okay, these people want me to succeed, and what they're saying and doing is in my best interest, at least from their perspective, because they care. But also taking a step back and like, okay, right, but what do I want, and what do I want? Because ultimately they will support that. In my situation, I'm really lucky that everyone's going to let me do what I want to do and be behind me. Obviously, they'll give me advice that they think is good advice, but like no one truly knows how to do it except for the artist. So I think
Yeah.
all these new voices and points of view around me, I've had to kind of learn in the last year to take a step back and be like, okay, sort through all the noise and be like, what do I want to do? What am I doing? And what makes me feel confident and
Okay.
happy and excited? Which obviously when you're independent, when you're completely independent, no one has a fucking opinion. So it's just you know? So there's that difference. I also think I feel happy with the resources that I have and the fact that there's so much. I'm a big planner, so
Mhm.
being with a label, there's a lot of planning that goes into that, which is nice. And also just being at Zelly and like 2 weeks ago, yeah, I was in New York for a week and I was working with Mark in person for the first time. And they just moved their new studio and office there, my label. So it's just really nice that the types of resources that they have, even just in the studio, and Mark and like all the incredible musicians that Mark knows that I got to meet. I only got to meet two, but I got to meet and work with while I was there. Obviously, it's still COVID and it's early days, but yeah, it's been a really good experience. It's definitely different to being independent,
Yeah.
but I don't mind it because of the type of environment Zelig is. It feels very protective and good. Yeah, you don't get lost in the sauce. I feel like if you sign directly to like a massive label, it's really easy to get lost in the sauce.
Mm-hmm.
Just drowning in the sauce, just waiting to. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And how do you remember the time you were independent?
Well, here's the thing. I was independent for like 3 years and I didn't put anything out. And then I put out 3 songs and then I got signed. So it's hard because the time when I was independent, I wasn't putting any music out. I was just making a bunch of music. And also I was involved with those really horrible people. So I don't have the best memory about that time. Like it was a painful time. It was a difficult time, but I don't regret it. And I think it was very formative for me. Yeah, I'm happy where I'm at now. I don't have any, I've never looked back and been like, oh, I'd like to do that different. I don't really look at life that way. So I'm happy.
I'm sorry, reminding you of all the bad times.
Oh no, not at all. No, not at all, not at all. Honestly, I'm happy to talk about it.
Okay.
Yeah, don't worry.
Yeah, so how did you get signed?
How did I get signed? So let me think. It happened pretty naturally. So I'm Harley, who's my A&R at Zelig. I met Harley when I came to LA in December of 2019 with my manager, because him and my manager ran into each other. My manager showed him some of my stuff, and Harley was like,
At the supermarket, right? I read that.
yeah, yeah, literally at this supermarket called Erewhon, which is like a very fancy, expensive. It's not just as if you went, you'd be like, this is not just a supermarket. It's like Whole Foods but on steroids.
Okay.
It's like, like really nice prepared food and like supplements and like very like, like natural, like fancy, nice. It's really nice. It's really nice.
Yeah.
It's like a very LA thing.
Okay.
And they ran into each other, and I know this was when I was still in London, and my manager played him the video for Bullying Boys before it came out. And Harley was like, whoa, like I really want to meet her, whatever. So then when I got to LA, one of the first people I met was him when I landed. And I'd been to LA before, but I just hadn't really met any industry people.
Yeah.
And then before I left that trip, I met Harley again and Mark. Played them some music, and Mark was really sweet, and so was Harley. And I know that from them they were like really interested in signing me, but I wasn't necessarily looking to be signed. And then
I think that always happens. Like you don't look for it, and then it comes, and you're like, oh, okay. Yeah. I thought at another point, but okay.
Yeah, we were a bit like, oh, whatever. And then I got to London, and then this other label also wanted to sign me, and then there was a bit of back and forth.
Raissa in the middle.
It was a bit of like, well, we'll give you this, we'll give you that, whatever. And then I ended up going with Zelig because I felt like they were giving me everything that I wanted. And I think, and it was also, I think, the type of environment I wanted to be in. Obviously, I had a lot of support and like insight from my manager and my lawyer, who obviously like was like weighing the options, and we had many conversations about it. And then being at Zelig upstreamed through Columbia, so we get my product manager, for example, she's actually at Columbia, etc. Just felt like the right fit. So that's kind of what happened. It happened in April, in the middle of the pandemic. Like literally, I didn't leave my house for months during that time. Maybe for like a little walk across the block and to go to the supermarket, but that's it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was. That's how it happened. Yeah, it's crazy.
When was the first time in your life where you were like, all right, music is my passion, like that's my profession, I want to do?
I think I always knew deep down when I was a kid, because I used to write a lot of songs and make mini albums and make album art and visuals when I was like preteen and a teen, so like ages like 10 to 18, like in my bedroom. And then I moved to London to go to university, to go to art school. And my first day of uni, I was like, what am I doing here? I was like, this isn't what I want to be. I had like a massive existential spiral. And I just decided then and there that I didn't know how I was going to pull it off, but I was going to do it. That was the moment. I was 19 years old. I was like, I'm doing this. I don't know how. I don't know anyone. I just moved to the city a week ago. I don't know anyone. I don't know where anything is. Scared and alone, but I'm going to figure it out.
So you were like in university, you were in London?
Yes. That's why I moved to London.
Okay.
University. Yeah.
And obviously now you live in Los Angeles. Like, how did that happen?
So
As you
because
already mentioned, you kind of wanted to move before COVID, but
yeah, so I was gonna move like in spring of last year, but obviously COVID hit and we'd already started doing all the paperwork for my visa, but then when COVID hit, all the US embassies and consulates stopped doing what they call routine non-immigrant visas, which is what I have, is a routine non-immigrant visa. They were only doing like green cards and like refugee stuff, like essential, like very necessary visa stuff. So I was just stuck. And also there was the issue of like when you get signed, you get a bit of money like in advance, and I couldn't even get that because the IRS in the US, which is the tax people, were also shut. So I was just like broke, not able to pay my rent and shit, and it was horrible. And the only way I could is if I came to the US and went to the Social Security office to get a Social Security number and like all this stuff. So we basically, someone at Columbia, who her name's Brittany, I love her. She takes care of touring, so she does a lot of, obviously when you're touring there's a lot of visas and paperwork involved because you're moving around to
yeah.
She spoke to my manager, was like, actually we've had a lot of success having people go either to having people go to the Caribbean or to Turkey for 2 weeks and then entering the US from there. With like this special visa thing that they did or whatever. Okay. So that's what I did. And that's how I moved in October. Yeah, I moved in October and then I was staying with my manager, and then I was able to find an apartment in like December. I moved in like 2 days before Christmas. Yeah.
Okay. So you also speak Spanish and French, right?
Yes, I speak Spanish with my mom and French with my dad.
All right. Do you consider writing songs in those languages, or like, do you write songs in also these languages?
I do, and actually one of the songs coming out is in Spanish. So get ready. Yeah, for sure. I love writing in those languages. I think certain thoughts or emotions are better expressed in French or in Spanish. So one of the songs is like in English and Spanish too. So yeah, I'm excited. Hopefully you guys like it. I did a live once and I teased the demo really quickly. I don't know if you were on that live, but I teased the demo once. It's finished now. It's no longer a demo, but I teased it. And I'm shooting a visual for it this month. So I'm excited.
So, oh yeah, I wanted to say that. Your mom. Okay. So, on one of my other Instagram accounts, I went on your live, and then your mom came into the live, and you were like, "Hi, mom," and I was like, "Oh," like she followed me on that account. I was like, "Oh, that's Raissa's mom." I was like, "Oh." If I would have known that.
That's so embarrassing.
No, that's not embarrassing. That's
my mom's so funny. My mom will follow, or like my mom will go through my tagged photo, things that I'm tagged in, and comment like she doesn't know me. Mm-hmm. She'll be like, "Oh my God, I love Raissa. I'm such a big fan." I'm like, "You gave birth to me. What do you mean?" Or like on my YouTube, my mom has a YouTube account just so she can comment on my videos as if she's a fan.
My mom too. Yeah.
And I'm like, Mom, you literally could be like, "I love you, my daughter," or whatever. No, she's like, "I am Raissa fan." You know what I mean? And I'm like, that's so funny. Yeah, she's funny. She follows a lot of. Oh, I just spat on myself. Yeah, she's funny like that. I love her.
That's probably how she found me, because I tagged you in one of the posts, and we're like,
yeah, definitely. She'll follow anyone that posts me. She'll be like,
and she randomly just, even if it's just not a story about you, she just sends like emojis to that story.
I know. Like, she'll send random emojis to random stories. I have a friend, Sarah, who's a songwriter. She's a really good friend of mine. She also like will reply with emojis to Sarah's story.
I mean, that's really cute.
Your mom? And I was like, oh my God. She's like, yeah, your mom's been like replying to my stories for the last like 4 weeks. And I was like, that's so funny. It's cute. I'm not embarrassed by it. I actually think it's really cute.
Yeah. I was just like thinking, yeah, it's just a randomly reaction or something. And then you said that it's your mom, and I was like, okay.
That's so funny. Yeah. Yeah, that's so funny.
Oh yeah, all right. Back to when you said like it feels more honest for you, like writing songs in French and Spanish. Is it because your parents, like I obviously think you grew up talking these languages. Is it because of that?
Yeah, I think there's certain, not with everything. English is my preferred language to communicate with people in, even though I speak all three like the same level.
Yeah.
But I think that there's certain thoughts or feelings that expressed in French or Spanish are just so much more poetic or so much more powerful than if you just wrote it in English, like purely from like the way the sentence is structured or the words that are used, how you can express things. So
Yeah.
I love kind of exploring that and playing with that when I write songs. It's been really fun. Sorry, hiccup.
Yeah, I felt the same. Like my first debut is like in German, but I got it translated in English. But like now I'm just writing in English. But like some months ago or something, I wrote a birthday poem for a friend of mine who is German. So when I wrote again in German, I was like, wow, this is such a deep language. Like, wow.
Yeah, it's so much more. Actually, one of my favorite poets is German, and
Oh,
I obviously don't speak German and I can't read German, but I just wish I could read his poetry in German because I feel like it's so powerful in English, and I just know that because that's the language he originally wrote it in, that it would be so it's Rainier Maria Rilke.
oh yeah. I know.
Okay, yeah, big fan of his. But I have a book of his poetry, and it's in German on one page, and then there's the English translation on the other page, and obviously don't know what the fuck is going on the German side. But I just know that it's probably just so much more beautiful in German.
Yeah.
That's the language he wrote everything in. But yeah, it do be that way sometimes.
um. Hold on.
Take his time.
All right. How is the songwriting process of Rises looking like?
The songwriting what of Raissa?
Hold
Sorry,
on.
you cut out.
Yeah. I wanted to do it in a poetic way. Hold on. So,
Try again. You're fine. First time didn't count.
um, how's the songwriting of Rise looking like?
At the moment. Okay, so I had a bit of a writer's block for the last 2 months. Really struggled the last 2 months, but I'm coming out of it, and I think the music's a lot more fun and like a bit flirtier and a bit more, definitely like more spring and summer for sure. I feel like I was writing like over the winter and stuff, like really serious, feel music, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like serious artist. And now I think I've kind of relaxed a bit, and I'm like, no, let's just do what feels good and feels fun. It doesn't always have to be like serious, you know what I mean? Like to be taken.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. And sorry.
You're fine.
I was like, what? Oh yeah. We talked it to come to like the frame. At the beginning we talked about your achievements in this year, and obviously as we got now the impression that you kind of just postponed everything a year.
Yeah.
But still I think this year was full of achievements and was really huge for you. Like
Yeah.
how did the past year change you personally?
I think I feel I'm dealing with it better now, but I think this is a positive and a negative thing, I guess, or neither. It just is. I definitely feel more pressure than I did before.
Okay.
And I was really struggling with that. And then I was speaking to my friend Sarah, the songwriter I told you about. She FaceTimed me and she was like, "How are you?" And I was like, I'm kind of struggling. I'm feeling a lot of pressure, and like it's just hard. And she made a really good point to me. She was like, the fact that you feel pressure means you're doing something right, because you feel like people watching you, or you feel like you have something to prove. It's because you've gotten far enough that there is something to prove.
Mm-hmm.
She was like, you were like the tiny little artist that no one knew a year ago that only had like 2,000 followers on Instagram, you probably wouldn't feel that pressure because there's no pressure there. She's like, so it's actually a good sign. So I've started to look at it that way, and instead of feeling the pressure in a negative way, I think I've been trying the last month to look at it in an encouraging way. So I think that's been the biggest difference personally for me. And I think I have just so much more to achieve and so much more to do. Like, I'm not satisfied, and I have really big aspirations, and I just hope that I'm able to navigate things in a way that gets me there, and that by getting there, that I can bring more people with me along the way, and like what I want most is to touch as many people as humanly possible, and to make as many people as humanly possible feel like they have a community and they have a place to be. Like, I want to play a show and like look out on the audience and see all sorts of different young people coming together and feeling like they have like friends now and like a place to belong with each other, and for it to not just be about me and my music, but that maybe you come into it because of me or my music, but then you stay because of the type of people that you're around. I think I love that. I mean, the more people there are, the harder it is. But I think so far I feel so blessed that like when I look at my comments, or like if I have like conversations on live or whatever, like everyone's so sweet to each other. And like, and that makes me really happy that like that it's such a nice, like generous and encouraging environment with each other, not just like towards me. That makes me happier than anything else, is that seeing people who love the music. I know the word is fans, it just feels weird to say it, but I guess the fans, seeing the fans, be with each other and be buddies and like say happy birthday to each other and stuff like that. That makes me super happy, and I just want to see more and more and more of that,
Yeah.
That's what I want.
When you mentioned your time when you had 2,000 Instagram followers, I was like, wow, major throwback. When I started following her, like you had already like now you have the K standing in your followers. At that time it was just a number. It was like,
when I did the bright lights thing, I think I went up to 5K. So I had like 5,000, and now I have 15.1. Yeah.
What would you tell yourself 1 year ago?
Just keep swimming, whatever you do, just swim. And you will get scared sometimes. Like that fear. Like, I think I thought that I'd conquered fear, but I haven't. And I think I've realized, and I think I would tell myself, like, you haven't, and that's okay. Because if you think that you've conquered fear and fear comes back, it makes you even more afraid. But if you accept that, like, sometimes fear is going to come back and like doubt is going to come back, then you navigate it. You just navigate it better. So I think I might tell myself, yeah, you're going to be afraid sometimes, but it's only because you care, and that's okay. And you just have to keep going and see things through, and not catastrophize things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, what do you expect from 2021?
Some live shows, bigger hero family, more music, and hopefully, if the hero fam is big enough, an album at the end of 2021 and a tour, or sooner. If the universe allows it. Touch wood. I'm touching my coffee table. Touch wood.